Welcome to the EarthWorks Podcast, where our team will share the jargon of carbon with many of the turf friends we've met over the past 35 years.
Hi, everybody. This is Joel Simmons, and this is the EarthWorks Podcast. I'm very excited to have a dear friend of, God, a long time. I don't even know how long I've known you. For a long time. Ryan Severidt is the director of grounds at Woodmont Country Club in, is it Woodmont? Are you actually in? No, you're in
Rockville,
Maryland. So, but in the infamous Mid-Atlantic, which I have said many times on the podcast and to many of my friends, I still think it's probably the hardest place in the world to grow grass. The people in St. Louis always argue with me, but we grow cool season grass in the Mid-Atlantic, and they grow nothing but warm season, or mostly nothing but warm season. But you are a little unique there, and I want to talk about this. But you've got one of your courses is zoysia, and then the other one is cool season. So you're in the Mid-Atlantic. You're actually one of the pioneers at Woodmont, right? In warm season grasses. Was there a lot of people there before you guys?
They had zoysia. They had zoysia for quite a few years before I got there, but we obviously expanded it with renovation and then added a bunch of bermudagrass as well. So yeah, it's
it's funny because it's gotten very popular now in your neighborhood, and a lot of people are converting to either Bermuda or talking about zoysia, and then last winter hit, and I think that hurt a lot of people. I mean, it's always been kind of dicey, but if you follow the USDA models, we're moving north. I mean, now Philadelphia is Baltimore, and Baltimore is what, North Carolina. So, I mean, it makes perfect sense. But let's talk about that. I know you've had some issues with warm season grasses, but I mean, I first of all, I will let everybody know I did get a chance to go see you last week, and the place looks spectacular. I mean, it really looks. I mean, the zoysia looks great. I mean, yeah, but I know you get a little frustrated with some of the issues. But what's the big issue with growing warm season grasses in the Mid-Atlantic?
I think it's just in the spring it's finicky. I think just like July and August isn't ideal for cool season grasses. Early spring and then sometimes winter isn't ideal for warm season grasses. So, first of all, you have to see how they came through the winter,
right?
Especially with the Bermuda grass, but with the zoysia as well. I mean, it can be affected by different weather patterns in the winter, and then it's just the fluctuations in the spring. It's when it's trying hard to wake up, and it's using so much energy to come out of dormancy. It doesn't like any obstacles. So when you get a cool week, or when you get a wet week, or when you get a week that doesn't have a lot of sun, then it seems to kind of go up and down, and you don't have a lot of control over which way it goes. So I think that's the most frustrating thing.
It starts to pout on you and decides it's not going to come out to play. Is that this kind of what's going on in these? I mean, you've been here now how long at Woodmont?
This will be my 9th season.
Wow, that's actually kind of surprising.
I know, me too.
Yeah, that's surprising. I mean, you followed Pete Went when he was there, and before he went over. I didn't realize it was that long ago, but that's what happens as you age. The schedule flips faster and faster. But I mean, of all the years that you've had this, was last year was one of the hardest winters to come out of?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're still kind of trying to repair everything from 2 winters ago. Just because we had overseeded it, so we just kind of let some of it ride because the ryegrass was good. So we just floated that into the next winter. But yeah, I mean, it was a rough winter, and you didn't know it was a rough winter until the Bermuda grass didn't wake up. So, we had just, as we had gone through a big construction project on our south course. So we had a lot of soils that needed work, a lot of compaction where we, heavy equipment and removing topsoil and soils that needed to be built back. So that definitely hurt it, but and just not fully established. It had only been in place for a year or two in a lot of the areas, and for one reason or other, it didn't like the winter, and I think it was more the late winter when the snow melted and the winds picked up, and I think there was a lot of desiccation, but we just had a lot of stuff that didn't wake up.
Yeah, I saw that a lot I mean, like I said, there's a lot of people in your neighborhood that are starting to play with warm season grasses. And, you've had such a long stretch down in the mid-Atlantic of decent winters. And then last winter was tough. And this winter wasn't easy, but you had a lot of snow cover. That helped you, the snow cover?
Yeah, I mean, we came out of this winter great, and I mean, it was a colder winter than the previous, I would say.
Yeah.
But I think just the insulation of the snow cover, I mean, we got snow and it stayed for the longest I can remember since we've been out here. I mean, it was on the ground for about 2 months,
Wow.
which is
Yeah.
very rare for where we are. But yeah, I think it provided a nice insulation. I mean, not only for the warm season, but for the cool season. I felt like we really came out of the gates early
Yeah.
on
The
cool
cool
season.
season can manage that fairly well, but I mean, warm
Yeah,
season, you would think a lot of snow cover would be kind of damaging, but no,
yeah, yeah.
good.
That's
You
the
know,
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. We're going to warm season grasses in the Mid-Atlantic, and now you're getting all the snow cover, and it's like
Yeah.
a
That's
real
wild.
winter in Maryland, and
I
it's
just- yeah.
I grew up in Maryland, so I spent a lot of time in Maryland in snow. In fact, I tell a story from some of my favorite sledding stories. I used to sled on Baltimore Country Club when I was a kid. Hopefully nobody's listening to
Did they know you were sledding on Baltimore Country
well,
Club?
I think back this was, I'm aging myself, but it goes back a bunch of years. I don't think it was I don't think they're letting any of us ridiculous kids sledding on the country club anymore. But I lived real close to that club, and a lot of friends lived right there, and they would go out, and I'm sure I was going over greens and tees and God knows what else. But
Yeah,
hopefully
right.
there's big fences you know, with guards there that don't let these idiot kids sled down their greens, because I can only imagine the damage that we were causing. But anyway, let me get a little back into your background, and I want to come back to the warm season. But you've been, I've known you for a long time. We met at where? At Kinloch?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
back
was
in when were
yeah.
you there?
I was there from I interned there in '04, and then I worked as an assistant from '05 to the end of '09.
And then went
So
from
it's
there
been
to Old Farm?
20 years. Yeah. And from there
Yeah.
I went, yep, to the old farm I was there for 8 years. And then now I've been up here for 8 years. So
Let's go back even further. I know you're a Midwest guy, so tell us a little bit
yeah.
about that, school and all that kind of stuff. Let
Yeah.
people know
I
who you are.
grew up near Des Moines, Iowa. So born and raised in that area, central Iowa. And then I went to a small Division III school and played a year of golf. And that's, kind of how I got into it. Always loved golf and wanted to do something in the business. And then I transferred to Iowa State University from there and kind of had a wild path where I was a business major for marketing for 3.5 years and then decided I want to do turf. So my parents were luckily supportive and I got my marketing degree and got my turf degree. So
I
life
didn't know
begins.
that until we were talking last week that you had a marketing degree,
Yeah.
and so did the parents? Were they okay with golf? I mean, that's got to be a lot of parents aren't really excited about when their sons or daughters run out of a whatever they thought was their
Yeah.
career
No, they
path.
were they were always really supportive. They knew I love golf. I always wanted to do something in the business. I mean, originally the thought was maybe I would try to be a club professional and take that path. And that's why, I was pursuing the business degree. I figured that would be that could fit in that realm. And then once I started working on the golf course and, working on the agronomy end, I loved it.
Yeah.
So I I had to do it. And
Yeah, I can't tell you how many
yeah,
stories, and I just heard one last week, and I'll remain nameless, but I can't tell you how many stories I've heard of parents like, "You want to get into what? You're going to
yeah,
do what?" And I was listening to somebody talk about, one of their assistants who they just rave about, and says he's got a great career path, and both of his parents were lawyers, and the mother came up to the superintendent and said, what is this he's doing? He's cutting grass. I mean, you could just tell that they were very disappointed that, their son didn't follow the path of being a lawyer. But, I mean, it's the bug, right? I mean, you get out there and you realize, and again, I can't tell you how many people say, there's a career. I could do this for a living. I mean,
Yeah.
this is I can actually make a living doing this, and a good living at that. It's kind of funny. How did you get into golf?
Um, I just grew up playing. My dad took me out. He
That
loved the
did it.
game. He
Yeah.
took me out when I was young, and I started playing when I was 6 years old, and
Wow.
was into. My dad was a coach, so there was a lot of activities, and I was always doing something. And initially, I was into other sports more, but then probably about 13, 14 years old, I started playing more, and I couldn't get enough of it. I mean, they would drop me off in the summer in the morning, they'd pick me up at night, and I would play all day long. And
So
you
the
know,
golf course was the babysitter. Is that what you're saying?
exactly for many years.
Yeah.
So I'm
Your friend and our friend Josh Saunders said the same thing on a podcast that we did with him. His parents dropped him
well,
off at the golf course every day, and that's how he, got the love of golf and all that stuff. So
well, yeah.
talk to me about the first day. So was Kinloch your first job on a golf course?
No, I worked at just a 18-hole public course
At
back.
home?
It was the hometown course. And that's how I started in the business. I just wanted to work on a golf course. I had always done,
Yeah.
my parents wanted me to learn how to work. So I always did. I had awful summer jobs. I mean, I worked as a janitor in a school for a couple summers, and
As a
I was
kid?
garden
That's too
center
funny.
picking weeds, and they always wanted me to work. So I had always done some type of manual labor, and I just wanted to work at a golf course. It was after my sophomore year of college, I think. And I applied to work up in the clubhouse. I figured, I'd start wherever, whatever they had open. The only thing they had open was on golf course maintenance. And so that's what I took. And
And you were
I
still a
did work.
marketing major at this point.
Yeah.
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 Oh, that's funny.
So yeah, I just
So,
wanted to
so
be on the.
explain the first day. I mean, what was it? Were you overwhelmed? Were you underwhelmed? Were you disappointed? I mean, was maintenance? I mean, maintenance probably wasn't on your radar at that point, was it?
No, it really wasn't. Honestly, it felt kind of comfortable because I'd always done stuff like that.
Yeah,
So, I mean, that was so long ago that I hardly remember last week, but
yeah. I don't either. Oh no, I
you
saw you. I
know,
remember that. Yeah,
yeah, but I think it felt pretty comfortable because I'd always done stuff like that. I grew up in the Midwest. It's a lot of farm communities. Everybody
yeah.
works, you're used to being outside and doing that type of work. So I think it just kind of came naturally, and I got to be on the golf course all day, and I got free golf. So I mean,
There you go.
I get done at 2:30 every day, and I'd play until dark, and it was a pretty good setup. I couldn't get enough of it.
So you
So
actually got to play golf, though. I mean, you had time to get out there and play.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it was a small public course, so you weren't working
right,
a ton
right.
of overtime. It was 6 to 2:30 every day.
Yeah, I was gonna
So
say done at 2
I
and
mean,
playing golf at 3, right?
exactly. I'd be on the first tee by 2:45, and I'd play until I couldn't see anymore, and then I'd head home.
Oh, that's a great story. That's very good.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
how'd you get east? What happened to get you this way?
To get east, I wanted to go somewhere else. I think I always knew that I wasn't going to be in the Midwest, especially in Iowa. Like I always wanted to go somewhere else and see different things. And with Kinloch, it was a little bit of dumb luck. Like it was a very new course at that time. It
Yeah,
opened, I think,
yeah.
in 2000, 2001. And it was just posted in the Hort building at Iowa State University. And I applied. I remember I applied to Kinloch, and I applied to. There was an internship at TPC of Sugarloaf, and then another one at Hamilton Farms in New
Oh,
Jersey.
you're
That
in
was
New
a
Jersey.
fun
Yeah,
club
yeah.
then. Yeah. Yeah. And it came down to Kinloch and Hamilton Farms. And I wanted to go to Hamilton Farms, and I didn't hear from them for a few days. And I had gotten the offer at Kinloch, and I was going to wait one more day, and they didn't call back. So I accepted the offer at Kinloch. then they called the next day and
Of
offered
course.
me a position. And I was like, sorry, I already accepted a
I'm a
position.
man of my word. I have already said yes. So
And I mean, thank goodness it worked out the way it did. I mean,
yeah, you got
I
into a great
yeah,
network of people,
exactly.
and
Amazing
obviously,
mentor and a great network of people. And
yeah,
still my best friends in the world
the
are
guys from
people I worked
Kinloch.
with
Yeah.
back when I was an assistant. So
Those were great years. I mean, I remember them well. The Red Hawk was a favorite stop,
yeah,
on
yeah.
the afternoon, just which is the local bar.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
which is
after you got there, yeah.
we, so you had already gotten your turf degree at this point, obviously. So you're done with school, and now this is your first real big job at in the turf industry.
Yeah, done with school, and I interned there in '04, obviously, and then went back out in '05. And I was my now wife had already gotten a job in Michigan through it was with a big company. Yeah. And
I didn't know that.
yeah, and so I was looking for jobs in Michigan. I had applied to a number of them. Oakland Hills being one. It was near Detroit where she was
Yeah.
offered, and Pete had offered me a position back at Kinloch, and I'm like, would you rather live in Michigan or Richmond? And she's like, Richmond. So she got with the company to see if they could transfer out to a Richmond office, and they could. So
Oh, wow. I didn't know
no
that
company.
story either. See, I'm
Yeah,
learning all sorts of things.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
good. Well, that worked out really well. So let's
Yeah,
talk a little bit about Kinloch. I mean, when Pete built this thing, Pete went, it was the furthest south bent grass golf course, and everybody said that he's nuts. I mean, it is just the stupidest thing in the world to, bring bent grass. And now, of course, we're talking about, started the conversation with warm season coming north, but now bent grass going south into Richmond, which is really the heart of the mid-Atlantic. I mean, you talk about, lousy weather. I mean, there was nobody around at the time that was doing 100% bent grass. A lot of bent greens, but not fairways.
yeah.
What was that like when you got there? I mean, you're playing with cool season grass and god awful weather. I mean, god awful weather some summers.
Yeah, I mean, it was intense, but you look back, I mean, we had such a great group of guys, and
Yeah.
we had a blast every day. Like we just like hanging out, and you didn't know any different. That was kind of my first go around, and you were doing what you were doing, and it was long days and it was a lot of work, but I felt like you were just out there, with your buddies, and you were working hard, but I was 25 years old and I didn't have, any responsibilities besides work. And my wife was working hard. We had no kids. So what else was there to do? Right.
Right, exactly. Just
So it was,
work.
and yeah, it ended up being, I mean, an amazing education. Like you're kind of naive at that point to know how intense it is and
Yeah,
how,
yeah.
you know, tough in that area of the country it is to maintain cool season grass. But that's all you know at the time. And you just, you know.
So blind ignorance is a is a
Exactly,
plus when you're dealing
exactly.
with that kind of a
Yeah, you get
combination,
used to
right?
the work and you get
Yeah,
used to seeing the warning signs, and I mean, it ended up being, I mean, as good a education as I could have hoped for, just as far as, being prepared, um, to take the next
yeah,
step.
yeah. And you did have a great team down there. I mean, you've had a whole bunch of folks that are now superintendents, right? I mean, Josh Saunders was there when you were there.
Yeah, Josh
And
Saunders and Brandon Collins,
Brandon Collins. I got to get him on the podcast. I haven't
yeah.
had Brandon on yet.
Phil Desborough, he's
There you go. Yep.
superintendent at Lakewood up here,
Yep.
and I'm trying to think. Lance Lauer was there while I
Colorado
was
now.
there. He was
Yeah,
out
we've
in
had him on the
Colorado.
podcast.
He was at Ballyneal for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we had a really good group. So
And yeah, that's yeah. So, that property was, I was pretty involved in that from day one. And man, they took a lot of trees down. I mean, that is an intense piece of property, and and not easy. I can't imagine between the cool season grass and all those trees and that weather in Richmond, Virginia, that there wasn't. I mean, there had to be. You guys must have been pulling hoses all day long. I'm
yeah, we
guessing.
pull a lot of hoses, but
Yeah,
I think that's why it worked. There were wide corridors.
yeah, yeah,
They did a good job of creating an environment where it was possible. So, and you quickly found out if you have airflow, you can grow cool season grasses in a lot of environments.
Yeah. And
So,
that they did that. I mean, they certainly, well, although there were still a lot of trees, I guess they're still taking trees down, but that was a pretty interesting piece of property. You got to learn a little bit about soil stuff there because I know we were indoctrinating and brainwashing all you guys at the time. And they were, Pete was, we had done a lot of construction amendments at Kinloch. And I've shown this picture, and you've seen the picture. It's got Pete's foot in it, but it's a picture of a pretty big organic profile. And this was a picture taken probably after 10 years of growing that humus. And I show this picture as I travel the country and do classes. And I ask superintendents, is this what you would want to have? And to a T, they all say no, because it's about 4 or 5 inches of what looks like thatch. But it wasn't thatch. It was humus, and it kept growing over the years. And it gave you guys the opportunity to manage moisture a little bit better. And obviously, it's the foundation of biological soil management. But you must have, I mean, it must have, that buffering. Of course, 2004, you were 4 years into it. Did it make any sense at the time? I mean, you were new to all this stuff that we were yakking about.
yeah, I mean, I think it did. I mean, we talked a lot about it. Like, I mean, we were lucky to be very involved with everything, and
Yeah.
we were educated well. There was a lot of conversation about what we were doing and why we were doing it, and it wasn't just get in the morning and do your work and go home. I mean, we definitely talked shop, and Pete was great about teaching us and
Yeah.
telling us, why we did certain things. And I think you saw, even in the 5 years I was there, I mean, you saw the transformations. I mean, I remember we were religious about putting 545 out in construction areas of rough. And I
Yeah.
saw in the time that I was there, you know, putting just the transformation and starting to build the soils and them starting to take care of themselves and, building that clay into like, you know, a good soil that could sustain. I mean, you would see it in even that period of time. So, I think that not only what we were told, but just seeing it firsthand and seeing the difference that it made. Um, and I mean it's been that way numerous times since. I mean, I've seen transformations. We talked a lot when I was at the old farm. We had some issues with take all and
Yeah.
just getting more calcium in the soil, and just it it ended up being more of a nutrient problem than just trying to eliminate the pathogen. I mean, we did a number of things from a nutrient standpoint. Just I remember my short course, I built it on sand, and just after we started to get more aggressive with getting those soil amendments in there with Renovate and some of the other products, I saw a quick transformation, and we didn't seem to be dealing with those issues nearly as much anymore. So
Amazing what soil will do for you, right? Even though it's
absolutely.
still heresy. Talk to me about you brought up take all. Talk to me about that. You had take all at Old Farm. I remember that. Now that you mentioned that, like you said, I can't remember much past last week either anymore. But I'd
Yeah.
forgotten that you had battled that down there, and it was a big issue for a season or two, right?
Yeah, I think we just got too lean. I think that
Yeah,
when I got there, it had been kind of the old school method of, soil fertility. So it was over fertility, and everything kind of grew out of control. And we spent years leaning it out. And I think I kind of got it a little over the edge in the other direction. And, we started to see we started to see things that we hadn't seen before. And, there was a correction that needed to take place. And, you know,
yeah. That's a good point because you can go in either direction. I mean, that pendulum can swing either way. That's why you and I do as many, we monitor as much as we can, just to keep a track onto what's going on. But, that take all patch, it was funny because I think my first experience was with take all was at Robert Trent Jones with Glenn Smickley.
Mhm.
And I had this weird thought, and I mean, I'm not a pathologist, but Bruce Clark had come out with the research showing that take all is about pH, and they lowered pH with ammonium sulfate. And I'm thinking about that, thinking, well, it's not pH. It can't really be pH. I mean, there's something changed to lower the pH, and ammonium sulfate will knock off calcium. It will also knock off manganese. So when you're knocking those things off, they become available. So, started playing with the thought of bringing calcium back. And it worked with Glenn, and it worked with you, and it's worked with, I can't even count how many other people we've had the same conversation with. But I mean, ultimately, disease suppression can be at least modified with nutrition if nutrition is the limiting factor. And I think that's what you discovered there.
Yeah. And I think we saw the same thing with summer patch. I mean, we had a lot of summer patch
Yeah.
issue in the rough there, and I think it was a nutrient balance issue and a nutrient availability issue that once we were able to,
Availability as much as anything, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
Talk about Old Farm. That's a fascinating place to me. I mean, it's just one of those. First of all, it's impossible to get to. It's in the middle of
yeah,
nowhere, and nobody's ever been there but you and,
yeah,
uh, and a couple other people. But talk about that property. I have always found it to be fascinating.
yeah. I mean, it was a really cool place, and I mean, it is kind of in the middle of nowhere, and
Yeah,
you know,
Bristol, Virginia, or
yep,
actually
yep.
Bristol's what on the state line, right?
It's
Isn't it?
right on the state line between Virginia and Tennessee. So,
Isn't there
no,
like a line through the city that's half Tennessee, half
yeah,
Virginia?
you remember the Geico commercial?
Yeah,
The little gecko hopping from
right.
Tennessee to Virginia in the
Tennessee.
middle of the road.
Yeah,
Yep.
I
Yeah.
forgot that.
Yeah, right on the border. So, yeah, I mean, it was a really cool club. It
Yeah,
was single owner, very destination type club, but a really, I mean, very affluent membership from all over the country. The owner there, um, he had been very involved in golf for a number of years. I mean, he was on the board of the PGA Tour. He helped he built the World Golf Village down near Jacksonville.
oh, I didn't
And
know that. That's
yeah,
interesting.
he was a member of the RNA. I mean,
Yeah,
he was very, very involved with golf, and he was from there. He made his money in coal, and he was from, I mean, Bristol was the big city. He was from a town called Grundy, which is basically a crack in the earth between two mountains with a river that runs through the middle.
16
And
people in his high school class. Yeah,
exactly. And he was obsessed with golf and was very successful, and this was his baby. And
yeah,
he had owned other golf courses. He owned a golf management company called Scratch Golf. They still exist. And there's a club in Florida called Jacaranda, another one Hilton Head called Hilton Head National, which was his first one. At one point, I think he owned like 9 golf courses and scaled back. And then the Old Farm was the only private golf club, and that was his baby. And
yeah,
he
yeah,
lived on the top of the hill, and it was him and all his buddies. And we only did about 5 to 6,000 rounds a year, and it was mostly people that were flying in on their private jets for a
right.
long weekend with 7 guests. And I mean, it was a cool place. We got to do a lot of cool things. It was a great golf course, built a par 3 course while we were there, a lot of infrastructure. I mean, by the time I left, I think you could sleep 68 on property
Oh,
for
wow. That's pretty
yeah,
cool.
6,000 rounds. So
Yeah. Is
yeah, it
that
was
what it
really
was?
good.
6,000 rounds for the year?
I don't even think we reached 6,000 while I was there. So, and now one of my former
Yeah,
superintendents here
Corey. Yeah.
is down there. Yep, Corey
Yeah, that's
Landon.
great. Great story for Corey too. What was it like living down there? I mean, you both your boys were born down there, right?
Yeah, both were
Yeah.
born. I mean, we left when we left. Adrian, our oldest, was not even 2, and
Okay.
then
So they were babies.
Luke, our youngest, was. I mean, he was only a couple months old when we left.
Yeah.
But yeah, both kids born down there. I mean, it was. I think we always kind of knew that it was not a final destination.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
It was a stepping stone. It was a great opportunity. It was a great club. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better facility I think just location wise, it wasn't somewhere we wanted to be forever, but it's a beautiful area. I
It is a
mean,
beautiful area. Yeah, it really
mountains
is.
yeah, if you ton of hiking and outdoors, the weather is ideal. I mean, if you talk about the ideal place to grow cool season grasses, I think it's
Because you were so far up in the mountains, right? I mean, you were high.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
we were at about 2,000 feet of elevation, so you were far enough south that the winters didn't get that cold. I mean, I think the winters are more harsh up here than they were down there.
Yeah.
And then the summers were, I mean, it was a dream. I mean, I think I think I had like a 3-year stretch where we got in the 90s like 3 times.
Oh, that is ideal.
And 90s, when I say we got in the 90s, I'm talking like 91,
Right. For an hour and at two
Yeah,
o'clock, and then it cooled
exactly.
off. As soon as the sun went
Exactly.
down, it was back in the 60s. Was that all bent grass? I don't even know.
Yeah, all bent.
It was all
So
bent. Okay.
L93 tees, greens, and fairways, just
Oh,
like Kinloch.
wow.
So that was an easy transition.
Yeah, I was going to say L93. Did you like it?
Yeah, yeah, it was great. So I mean, it did so great down there.
Yeah,
I
in
mean,
that environment, it would probably be ideal.
and you didn't have any stresses with play, so you just kind
Yeah,
of put your
yeah.
foot on the gas and never let up. So
And you only had 6,000 rounds.
it's 6,000 rounds. Yeah.
Right,
When I
exactly.
came
So, yeah.
when I came back up here, I had to learn how to grow grass
I was
again.
going to say, I mean, I don't know if that's not a place to just retire to at that kind of,
I know,
I
right?
mean, the other cool thing about that place is I mean, it was a farm. I mean, kind of a farm, right? They had the huge garden, right, for the clubhouse.
Yeah.
I remember you
It
talking
was,
about that.
yeah, that was one of the coolest things down there. And in my time there, we really ramped it up. It was kind of, I would call more of a pet project when I got there. The owner really loved the garden and wanted that incorporated into the operation. And they were just they grew a garden, but it wasn't doing anything. It was just there to say, we have a garden.
We have a garden, right?
So, when I got there, I didn't really pay attention to the garden. And
Why would
we
you?
got
You're a
into the
grass
season
grower.
and he's like, Jim, the owner, he really wants a garden. I'm like, well, what is it even doing? So like, if we're going to do a garden, let's really do it, right? Let's do a garden. Let's create something that will, can sustain the food operation, which it was a very high level food operation. I mean, he did everything all the way. So we ended up expanding it. I mean, a lot. So we built a greenhouse and we
Oh, I
grew,
didn't know you had a
so
greenhouse.
we
That's cool.
started everything from seed, and it was all heirloom, naturally grown vegetables, no pesticides used in the garden at all. And I mean, we expanded. The garden was over an acre by the time I left.
Wow.
And we were able to, I mean, we sustained most of the produce for the kitchen the majority of the year. And the menus were seasonal, and we would work with the chef. I mean, I had a great horticulturist. Like I fortunately hired some good people that really knew what they were doing. I mean, there's so many people there that like live off the land and
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
already doing it, and it's
Right.
not even people that have a degree in horticulture.
They survive.
They live up there and they have cattle and goats and enormous garden, a greenhouse already. They have beehives. And so you can find this unique skill set in that area. And I found some good people to lead the charge on that. And, I just kind of
Did
tried
you have
to,
beehives?
we did. We
Did you
had
really? Cool.
3 different hives, and we would get a good amount of honey every year that they would use. It was kind of a novelty thing, but that was really cool. The bees
These are
really
fascinating, aren't they?
cool
Yeah.
creatures. They really are.
It's actually the more I get across the country, I see beehives on golf courses a lot now. I mean, I have a friend in California that she actually runs around to golf courses and sets her hives there for the golf course, and then leaves them with honey. So the clubhouse has ample amounts of honey that came right off of their golf course, which is kind of it is kind of a novelty, but at least you have some honey from the property.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's really cool.
Yeah, bent grass honey, I guess is what they call it, right?
That's it.
It's
That's it.
something like that. So what were the challenges at Old Farm? I mean, there had to be some issues. Was it easy to get people down there? I mean, you were literally out in the middle of nowhere.
Well, it really wasn't bad. We did H2B while I was there. So there were some good companies in North Carolina that you wouldn't they would get a bunch of employees and they were their employees. So
Yeah.
you would pay them, and we were able to get a pretty good group. And then there were we found some really great local people. I mean, you have a lot of people down there. It's similar to the Midwest where it's very much a, farm
Work,
environment,
yeah,
and
work ethic.
they've worked their whole life, and
Yeah.
they knew the deal, and it it was natural. That's what they did. They wouldn't want to do anything else. So we were, it took a while to get it where we wanted it, but by the time I left, I mean, we had an incredible staff. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it would,
That
yeah,
must have been one of those jobs that would have been, hard to leave just because it was so unique and, so
yeah.
special.
No, it was hard to leave. I
If it
feel
wasn't
like,
for Bristol, it probably would have been
yeah,
impossible to
no,
leave.
it was more about the area and wanting to get into a bigger
Yeah.
area lifestyle for who we are. And I felt like it had run its course. I was looking for a different challenge. Just the dynamics of working for a single owner. You didn't really drive the ship. He drove the ship,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the ideas of what was going to happen, kind of filtered through him, which understandable. It's
Yeah.
his baby,
It's his course. Yeah.
So, but being up here, I think it's a better fit for me, and it's a situation where I'm able to drive the ship, and I'm able to, lead the membership in the direction that I think we should go. And
Yeah. Let's talk about Woodmont. You're in that mid-Atlantic, just outside of Washington, D.C. God awful place to grow grass, but beautiful facility. And, one of the things that I definitely want to talk about, and I think is one of the coolest things you've done since you've been there, is that practice facility. Your short course game. It's just stunning. And that's what it's probably older than I think it is now. It's 2 years old now, or is it older than that?
it's 4 years old. I think we
See,
finished
I
it.
told you, I can't keep track of time anymore.
It goes fast.
It just goes
Yeah.
sipping through. In a couple of years, I'll be, 100 years old.
Yeah.
Talk about Woodmont. I mean, it's a unique I mean, it's a membership that's pretty unique. It's a big place.
Yeah.
I mean, they do a lot of stuff there. I mean, it's and you're running a few more rounds than 6,000, aren't you?
Yeah. A few more rounds than 6,000.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, it's a great facility. It's kind of a hidden gem, I would say, in here around DC. I mean, if you're from here, you know about it, but if you're not, it's not, I would say, super well known. But I mean, great facility. I mean, you've been out here plenty of times. I mean, people are blown away of the property and where it's located. We're in the middle of the city, in the middle of Rockville, Maryland, and
Yeah.
460 acres that you wouldn't even know was there. So
460, is that the total? I didn't, yeah.
460.
That's
So
pretty funny.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a big property. I mean, it's
yeah,
beautiful. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and you're
big
right off
property.
of, major drag just outside of Bethesda. I mean, you're right there in the middle of everything. And,
Yeah,
within 10, 20, well, half an hour drive with traffic in your area, you're hitting some of the best golf courses around, which
yeah.
is pretty funny. So so you get to Rockville from down in Bristol. It had to be a little culture shock. I mean, you also were following some pretty big shoes. And Pete Wendt, who ended up going over to congressional from there. What was that like? I mean, was it a culture shock? Was it transition hard? Um,
I mean, it was definitely,
you said you had to grow grass again.
yeah, I had to grow grass again. And 2018, I don't know if you remember, I'm sure you remember all
I
about
do.
2018. That was not an easy year to get
No, it
started.
wasn't.
But
Welcome to Rockville, Ryan.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That was gray leaf spot year when
Oh, yes, I
everything was
remember that.
melted
Yeah.
in September. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
fun. Yeah. Culturally, it wasn't. Bristol was a culture shock.
Yeah, I can
We didn't
imagine.
know,
That
it
had
was
to
like,
be.
okay, this is where we are.
Yeah.
And that was different and not completely, just not who we are. But all of my buddies went north, so we were still, I was kind of more tuned in with this crowd.
Yeah.
I ever was down in the, I guess, mid South or the mountains, whatever you want to
Yeah,
call it.
we all lost track of you while you were down there. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, I
where'd
know.
Ryan go?
Right on my
I
alley.
remember Ryan. Where
Yeah.
the hell did he go again? Oh yeah, he's in the mountains
So
somewhere.
yeah, so I mean, it was an easy transition for living.
I bet.
It
Yeah.
was, just how Woodmont operated compared to the old farm. It was definitely a transition. And like I said, just kind of getting slapped in the face and like, okay, it's time to grow grass again. Because like I said in
Yeah.
Bristol, I mean, it was pretty easy, but you kind of catch back on pretty quickly. And, that was a pretty intense season, and you gain your footing, and
You were probably
kind
pretty
of
happy
follow
when
pretty
that year
quickly.
was over, weren't you?
Yeah, that was,
That first year in there.
heck of one to start. And Pete took everybody with him, so I didn't have
Yeah.
any employees.
Oh,
He
exactly.
told me he was going to do it, but he did. He took basically everybody. So
Yeah.
I had to get a new team, and but we built it quickly, and now I mean we have.
And you've built a great team. I mean, you've always had great people underneath you. Many of them have now become superintendents, and I bet a few more will become superintendents in the very near future as well,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool. So how did you find them?
How to, what's that?
How did you find the crew, the staff?
It
You
was
just
just kind
started
of,
calling your old friends and said,
yeah,
"Hey, you
yeah,
got anybody I
exactly.
can steal?"
It was kind of a progression, we kind of, the first group wasn't, I would say, the most cohesive, but we were just trying to,
Yeah.
get bodies in there. And we, you kind of, pieces seem to move in and out naturally over the long haul. The people that fit are going to be with you, and the people that don't fit, they're going to go elsewhere. So I think it's like any operation. I'm sure with when you were growing your business, it took time to build your team, and the longer you go, the better it gets, because
Yeah.
you know who works best the way you work, and who you like to be around, and who will help fill your gaps, and you find people that you know help you get better as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody's good at different things, and you find a cohesive group that kind of, you fit all the puzzle pieces together. So I think that we just keep getting better.
Yeah. You've always had, I mean, I'm sure there's been subtle differences, but I always thought you guys had a great team. But, explain to me how you pull that off, because every time I've ever been there, from the beginning of your days there, and even, before, you've always had a great team. How do you vet that? What kind of advice do you give to somebody that's finding themselves in the same position? How do you find the right guys? And then we'll talk about how you keep them, going. But how do you find them?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I just want to find guys that are on board. Like, they
Right.
don't need to be the most talented, the smartest guys in the world, the most
Turf
have,
head, the biggest turf
yeah,
head.
yeah, to be the nerdiest, or like,
Right. Right.
I just think it's, being open to different personalities, and
Yeah.
realizing that, if you, to me, it's about being open and allowing them to work the way that fits them the best. Like, I think as a manager, you have to adapt. You can't just force people to do it exactly the way that you do it. And I think that once you get past that, it kind of opens up everything, and you're able to expand your operation, and as confident as we all are in what we do, and I have an extreme amount of confidence in what I can do. You can always get better, and there's always other people that are better at certain things that you might not be the best in, or you're going to learn from people who are different than you. So I think just being open to the different personalities, and trying to, instead of forcing them to fit into your way, more allowing them to to merge into the operation, I think that's how it all works.
Yeah.
So just trying to draw out their strengths, you know, they don't have to be the best at everything, but if they're really good at a few things, you can help fill their gaps with the things that you might be better at.
But
So
you give your guys a lot of leeway to really kind of do their thing.
yeah, I think at a point, you know, trust is earned, but
Yeah.
that's how I learned, you know. Pete definitely gave us a lot of autonomy to learn and make mistakes, but you always felt like he was kind of right there over your shoulder, so you could only screw up so much.
Right.
So
Because he
I
was
think,
right there over your shoulder.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, and I think that's the key. You can't micromanage everybody and do everything. There's especially in an operation of this scale, it just won't work.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I think I I would say I'm not naturally the best delegator. Like I like things a certain way and I have a lot of confidence in the way I do things. And so it's easy to hold tight, but uh, if I did it that way here, we would fail miserably. There's just too many things going on. So you learn, and then
It's a
the
big
more you
property.
allow
Yeah.
it, the more you see the, you know, the capabilities, and, you know, it almost like becomes like, okay, this is the way we need to do things.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
and that,
I've always been impressed by your staff and the way you've handled your staff. I mean, you're probably one of the more easygoing superintendents that I've known in my career, and obviously produce an incredible finished product, and everybody's on board with that. So there's a lot of accolades going your way for that. But let me ask you a stupid question: how do you get a new guy to learn how to water correctly to your style? Because I know you were brought up in a style that watering was very important and you learned it well. How do you teach that?
I mean, I think it gets to a point where, I mean, initially it's working with them, right? Like getting them to buy into the way that you've done things and the way that you know works in this area, because water management it's a fine line. I mean, it can,
Mid-Atlantic, yeah, high
yeah,
humidity. I
yeah. I
mean,
mean,
yeah,
that's a very important part of it. But, you know, I think the further you go, the more you have the people who have been on board and that know how you do things to, you know, train the next guy. And, you know, if they
right.
buy in, then the people under them buy in. But I mean, I feel like I still have to reinforce it, you know? I mean, we had an instance, maybe we talked about it when you were here this last time, but I heard something over the radio about how they were watering. They were talking about cooling something down.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like a red
That's
flag in
kind of
my
what stirred
brain.
my thought. Yeah.
That that
Go
means
ahead. Tell that
arbitrary.
story. I think it's great.
Yeah, that means to me, that's arbitrarily putting water on a surface that might not need water, which we
Right.
know that's you can't do that around here. So, and I mean, we have bent grass surfaces, you know, we don't
Yeah.
have POA. It's one thing if you're cooling off POA, if you're syringing,
Shallow roots. Yeah.
that's a real thing, right? But we have bent grass that's engineered for heat, literally. You know, we have newer varieties of bent. So, you know, cooling them down, what are we really accomplishing? What we're probably doing is just adding water to the surface unnecessarily. So, you know, I caught it on the radio and I said, whoa, 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 what are we doing now?
Yeah.
Cooling things
Yeah.
off, what does
Excuse
that
me.
mean?
I'm sorry. What was that?
You know, and we had a little back and forth in the radio, and then we went out and I had a conversation of why we don't, you know, cool things off, why we
Right.
don't add
Right.
water if
Yeah.
water is not, you know, we don't need to add water. And we had one thing, the way I was taught, I thought Pete was always good about explaining things in a practical sense,
Right.
right? Like
Right.
relating it to something real. And, you know, I was, you know, the conversation of, you know, adding humidity, you know, is it
Yeah.
90 degrees with zero humidity hotter or 90 degrees with 90% humidity? And adding that water up top, you just created a humid environment.
Yeah. You
And
just. Yeah. Exactly.
adding the small amounts of water, even if it needs water and you're just cooling it off, you're not doing anything either. And, you know, I related it to, you know, if you're running a race and you've been going nonstop for 45 minutes and you're thirsty. You haven't had any water. If you take a tiny little sip of water, is that going to do anything for you?
Right. You're not gonna
No, you need a drink a bottle of water. And I really, in the same sense, if the turf is telling you that it needs water, if it's actively wilting, you need to give it water. We
Yeah.
don't want to give it, just enough water to have it be reacting the same way 2 minutes later.
That's a great analogy. I hope you use that with your crew.
Yeah, no,
So
absolutely.
you're a deep and infrequent waterer.
Yeah, to a sense. I mean, I think in the Mid-Atlantic,
It's hard in the Mid-Atlantic.
Deep and infrequent, but if it's wilting, I mean, I want them to water it.
Yeah,
You know,
you got to water.
if you give it enough water to just sustain it for half an hour, you're going to add more water and more water and more water, and you're creating that humid environment all over again.
You've always been very, very good at the why with your guys. I mean, I know, you're one of the first when, I would do soil reviews on a Zoom call, you'd have the whole room full of your guys in there, which was cool. I always enjoyed that. I always thought that was important because, these guys are going to go off and become superintendents. And for them to understand all these intricacies, I mean, we're talking now, obviously, soil chemistry and biology, but explaining to them why and helping them discover that. I mean, some of the, I've had a tremendous amount of questions from your guys over the years and been very, involved in some of their successes over the years, but it's all because of you. You help them understand why, why would I, put out a carbon-based fertilizer? Why would I add calcium? Why, watering? I mean, all of these things, they leave you and they understand why they're doing that. And I think that's a huge compliment to you and your management style. And it's important, in this industry.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I think, and to me, it's getting buy-in too, right?
Yeah.
We can tell them all the things. We can say, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But if they don't understand why we're doing it, they're never going to buy into what we're doing. So, for me, having them in that room so you can explain in more detail than I can explain, what you're seeing, why we need to do certain things, why we're making these applications. It's just, to me, it's going to expedite their learning process, and it's going to expedite their buy-in process because they're part of the solution. They know exactly why we're doing these things and why our plan was formulated. And, I'm all about efficiency. If I can
see that.
find a way to, involve them so we can get to the next step, then that's what I want to do. And I tell my guys all the time, if there's information that you don't have that you want, you just need to tell me. I'm never trying to withhold information from you. Oh, anything that I have at my disposal, I want you to have it. And I'm not always going to be aware of, everything, or if I'm educating you to the full extent that you want to be educated, but you just need to let me know if there's something that I'm not telling you or something that you want to learn more about. And all the information that we have is available to everybody.
Yeah. So explain to me why you're sitting in the office today. What do you got going on?
We have our annual U.S. Open qualifier. So we've been a final qualifying site at Woodmont this will be 40 of the last 42 years.
Wow.
That they've done a final qualifier at Woodmont. So it's longest day in golf. So it was an early morning, and it's going to be a late day, but probably my favorite day of the year. So
that's pretty cool. And when you walk through your shop, I didn't realize this until the other day as well. You have all of those U.S. Open qualifier posters all over your walls with all the qualifier signature on it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So this is for qualifying for next week?
Qualifying for next week. So we have
I didn't realize that there was that close. That I assumed that they had already set the stage.
No, it comes right up to the end. So yeah, we have four qualifying spots this year.
Okay.
And usually we're usually in that neighborhood. We have 4 or 5 every year. So it's fun because obviously ton of talent. And what's really fun is a lot of times you'll have guys that you're going to know a lot about a few years down the road.
Right.
Like
a
lot of young guys and amateurs and, pros that are just getting started that have an immense amount of talent. and you remember them from the qualifier, and now they're
That's
making an
cool.
impact on the PGA Tour. So it's
Any
yeah.
names you can drop that were that have become successful out of there?
I mean, Denny McCarthy used to
Oh,
qualify
really?
here
Oh, cool. That's pretty cool.
all the time,
Yeah.
and there's some really good ones this year. We have Blades Brown. He was one of the youngest ever to win the stroke play portion of the U.S. Amateur for the qualifying for match play. I mean, he was, I think, 16 when he won the stroke play portion of the U.S. Am,
Wow.
and went pro when he was 18, and was starting to find his footing. And I mean, we have a number of guys that have had some really good finishes on the PGA Tour here lately that are playing. Jackson Suber, well, Thorne Bornson has
Oh,
played
wow.
well. He won
Yeah.
the U.S. Junior. Brian Kim, who's a local kid, won the U.S. Junior in 2023. So yeah, some good.
So you've been rubbing elbows with
talent.
some of the better ones. Are you going out to the Open? Are you going to go see Shinnecock?
Unfortunately, I would love to, but I don't think I'm gonna make it up
Yeah.
there here. So it's been a
It's
busy.
not it's a beautiful place. I remember last time we were out there, I stayed with some clients in the city and took the train out. I think I stood the whole way out. It was that crowded, but it was a lot of fun. It was an awful lot of fun, which is kind of cool. Well, first of all, let me say thank you for all your support over these years and your friendship, and I look forward to a lot more years. Maybe some of them in Europe. I don't know. We'll figure that out as time goes on.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
I've always been overly impressed with, obviously, with the product that you're putting out as a golf course superintendent, but the way you manage your staff. I mean, you guys, all of your guys speak incredibly highly of you, and the fact that you've allowed them to really discover why you're doing what you're doing. This is a stupid question, probably. Have you really had to ever fire anybody? I mean, if you had, somebody not make it, and don't mention any names, but
Yeah.
yeah,
No, of course you have, but
yeah.
you know,
At
not
Woodmont,
not too many, luckily.
yeah.
So yeah,
I
yeah.
would think any young guy that wants to get into this business that comes into into your facility and learns under you would just be thrilled. I mean, just to be able to pick up the kind of knowledge base. Of course, I'm somewhat biased because you're a biological soil management guy, but to learn the whole business from you, I just can't imagine wouldn't be, I mean, a chance of a lifetime. I mean, Pete's one thing, he's Pete, but I mean, and he won't be listening to this, so I can say all the nasty things I want about him. But I just overwhelmed at how impressive your whole crew handles themselves, and the questions. I mean, they just like I said, I mean, I do a lot of these soil reviews with superintendents, and now a lot of I've encouraged since working with you to have them bring their crew in, and it's been really good. But your guys ask good questions. I mean, you can see they're engaged, they get it. They're way ahead of a lot of folks that I've said. So
No,
I throw you that as an accolade because I believe it sincerely. So.
yeah, no, I
Um,
appreciate it. So
and
yeah, I'm
you
just
won't
glad we're
believe this,
going.
but we just ran through an entire hour of this podcast, and
Yeah,
I'm really
no
happy
problem.
that I finally got you on. I don't know why it took me so long, but
Well,
I
it's good
always
to
love
finally.
having what I call the RTJ family, Robert Trent Jones family, on the course because you guys are such a unique network, and it's always a pleasure to come down and visit you guys and see what you're doing and I learned an awful lot as well. So it's I thank you for all that, and I thank you for coming on as well. So appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate everything that you do for us. You know, you help us educate them, and you've kept me in line for a number of years with making sure that we're moving things in the right direction. So
Just
can't.
follow the data, my friend. Just follow the data. That's all I can do. I'm just looking at a piece of paper and it's like, what's that line about a consultant? He looks at your watch and tells you what time it is.
Yeah.
That's the definition of a consultant. But I'm glad we've had a chance to spend this time over the last number of years, and I hope it'll be a lot more because
Absolutely.
I suspect you'll be there for a long time. It's a great property, and it sounds like this is the kind of place you could probably retire to if you really wanted to. So.
Yeah. No, I think so. It's a good spot.
Good luck with the summer months. I wish you well, and as always, if there's anything I can do to help you, let me know. I'll talk to you. And
All
if
right.
and if you're watching the podcast, we're gonna have some pretty cool guests on. We're gonna have Dr. James White on in a week or two, talking about rhizophagy, which we're very excited about. So there's a lot of stuff coming down the pike. So subscribe. You'll find us on all the podcast spots, and we'll let you know who we got coming up. Ryan, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Joel.